Speaking of sad, my vacation got interrupted by in the Brook Jackson whistleblower case against Pfizer that details all the different ways Pfizer failed to comply with their legal obligations vis-a-vis the Department of Defense to assess both the safety and efficacy of the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine that they were developing. And she witnessed a wide range of non-compliant conduct by the clinical trials that she was part of, and that has been her kind of life, passion, and career to be part of that part of the profession. And she blew the whistle on him and brought suit. I represent her on behalf of the people of the United States, plus for the retaliatory discharge. Out of Pfizer started whining and complaining about her social media page and my own social media. That they're spending a lot of time studying and watching me and studying and watching Brook Jackson. Maybe they should have spent a little more time monitoring adverse events correctly. Maybe we wouldn't be having this problem right now.
Robert,
But
am I gonna find myself in a federal filing with the screenshot of one of our live streams saying
Yeah,
Robert Barnes and that far right guy Viva said this? Crazy.
Who
Okay,
knows?
sorry.
They don't like to include the video clips because the video clips provide context they didn't want the court to see. So instead, they filed tweets, often kind of out of context. But the point I made was the point that a bunch of observers made of their motion to dismiss. But they were enraged at my argument, which was, I said, basically, you sum up Pfizer's argument. It's, yeah, okay, maybe we submitted a bunch of fraudulent, false, perjurious documents and statements as we detail in the complaint, but it doesn't matter because the government would have given us the money anyway. In fact, but of course, that is exactly their argument. When you're saying, yes, assume all of the plaintiff's facts are true and all the allegations are true, but those facts somehow are not material to the payment of monies, that's what Pfizer's arguing. But they don't like the world to know that Pfizer's overtly arguing in federal court that they can lie to the United States government and lie to the United States taxpayers and get checks for over $2 billion for a product that does not work as they promised, is not as safe as they said it was, is not effective in the way that it is, and ain't even a vaccine because the government's in on it, effectively, is their argument. They were enraged that I could make that argument publicly. And then they were enraged that Brook Jackson just put out a couple of tweets. And one of them was her interpretation, her opinion about the judge was that the judge didn't appear to be cognizant of the power gap between the parties. And it didn't appear that was going to affect his decisions, which really was appraising the judge, saying he's going to rule. She was hopeful he would rule on the facts and the law and not be influenced by Big Pharma, which has had a disproportionate success rate in federal court that the facts and the law, in my opinion, don't explain. Well, the court ordered a 48-hour status conference, middle of my vacation, God bless him, in which he wanted to lecture me about him not liking that tweet, that he thought that tweet by Brook Jackson meant that somehow he was biased in favor of her. And I was not bashful. I told the judge I thought that was a completely wrong interpretation. But it reminded him, which apparently he'd forgotten, and a lot of judges forget, First Amendment of the United States Constitution. In a case like this, I'm not going to shut up. I don't encourage anyone else to shut up. And federal courts and state courts alike need to start. They believe the duty of a lawyer is to make them as judges look good. It ain't. That ain't our duty now, not tomorrow, not ever. And not only that, having lawyers shut their mouths about court proceedings does not help the appearance of the integrity of the judiciary. It makes it look worse. I've been arguing this. I have friends on the federal bench. I have family on the state bench. Most of them actually do understand this, but a lot of them don't. You're much better off with a robust debate and discussion about what you're doing as a judge in the public opinion. You are not better off if people think lawyers are going to keep their mouths shut. And this comes from, as a young lawyer, I was a part of a case where a state court judge fell asleep during a bench trial, and it led to a abused kid being forced to go with the abuser back home that day. And I wanted to say something about it. I was told by the lawyer, very good, conscientious lawyer, you say a word about this publicly, every judge in town is going to hate you, and you better learn to practice somewhere else. From that day forward, I decided I was never going to be a locally rooted lawyer. was going to use the Swiss mercenary model and go wherever I could because I was not going to keep my mouth shut if I didn't like what was happening. And it doesn't help these judges think it helps them. Lawyers all, acting like we're all part of a secret club with the court. No, it doesn't. It's better if we're saying whether we like him, dislike him, think he's good, think he's bad. Let there be a robust debate in the court. That will lead people to have more confidence in the integrity of the judiciary, that they're just, as this court said, the court's committed to only deciding this on the law and the facts. That's all anybody wants. That's all anybody expects. That's all anybody hopes for. But, he quoted Justice Roberts saying all judges do is call balls and strikes. Nobody believes that right now about our judges in America because we've seen too many examples where they're not. If the powerful are on one side and the powerless are on the not, then as a ref, they're wearing a uniform and it's the other side's uniform. It ain't the referee uniform. So encouraging people to shut their mouths about the judicial process is not a good idea. So the judge ended up allowing a stay of discovery for like 6 months. Fine. I think that was a mistaken decision, but that's his privilege and prerogative, obviously. But I think judges would be better suited with robust discussion and debate, not creating an impression that lawyers should never say anything about a judge that anyone could lead them to doubt that judge in any way, shape, or form. Because it's actually lawyers looking like they're compromised, which is leading people to have deeper skepticism of judges than actually should be the case.
Robert, just based on the chat, well said. And when you say that people think judges are just calling things balls or strikes, I think a lot of people right now feel that the judges are calling balls as strikes and strikes as balls, just depending on who's throwing the ball. But what you're saying is amazing and it's fantastic, but it'll almost sound easier said than done to a great many people out there. I don't know what happened, but just so everybody knows. Most lawyers I have no idea what happened to you during the vacation, but now I'm putting a little bit together. I had no idea. So,
I think most lawyers would go quiet, go mute, and tell their clients to shut up. And if you know Brooke Jackson, that's kind of a foolish thing anyway. Brooke was willing to risk her whole career and future to out this. This could be economically ruinous for her. She did it. Get this. They're claiming that Brooke Jackson is really just a secret anti-vaxxer, an anti-government anti-vaxxer. And it's like, hold on a second. Someone who spent most of their life wanting to see drugs and vaccines be successful and good is now an anti-vaxxer. And I'm apparently just an anti-government anti-vaxxer. Now people there's a difference between being anti-corrupt bureaucrat, being anti-drug company, and being anti-government or anti-vaxxer. Those two things are different. And I understand Pfizer doesn't understand the difference. Pfizer is one of the most criminally fined corporations in the history of America. If anybody has a criminal resume, it's Pfizer. But I tell you, Pfizer's rising up. They're not yet to Tyson level, but they're getting up there in terms of a company that deserves to have the spotlight brightly put on it. And they actually made the ludicrous argument that Brooke Jackson or my motives were the most relevant factor to a key TAM False Claims Act claim. They have absolutely nothing to do with it. And the judge seemed to temporarily buy in. I was like, that's ridiculous. That's a preposterous claim. That's not a credible claim. There's no law that suggests that. That's nuts. But the idea that they're going to use these proceedings to try to shut up people, they've been obsessed with silencing Brooke Jackson from day one, shutting her up for day one, or shutting me up or anyone else up in this context. Now, you can do all the smears you want. You can lie to the judge as often as you want. It's not going to change at all the approach that we take. The right side is clear on this. Frankly, the facts and the law are clear on this. I hope that's where the court goes. If it doesn't, then that's what the appeals are for. But what I'm not going to do is tell clients to shut up or myself shut up about what's going on. There needs to be more transparency, not less, in our judicial and governmental system.
Robert, they call you an anti-vaxxer. They'll call her an anti-V. They've called me, and I've just so everybody out there understands.
And you even took it. You took it. You're an anti-vaxxer.
Everyone out there should understand. I have never once asked you about your personal position on this or personal physical. I've never asked you, Robert.
I identify, depending on the circumstances, I identify. Now, I don't even identify anymore. I was never going to take it unless they strapped me down or offered me at least 10 mil.
But I want people to understand 10 million, Robert. I don't even think at this point I would take a booster for 10 million, but I've never asked you this. People ask me and think I know. I've never asked you.
I'll just
I
do
don't
what
care.
that drug company guy did in Europe and get a little saline shot. You see that? Now facing criminal How many of those Biden shots were saline shots?
When Brandon Strzok, who was on last week when you were on vacay, told me that when he got arrested, they tested him for TB and injected him with something that made a little ball under his skin. I was like, that's my nightmare. But I just want everyone out there to understand. I've never asked you, Robert. I didn't even know. I don't know, and I don't care. Much in the same way, when certain people were invited into my home and said, they text me and said, by the way, we're all double vaccinated. I don't care. I wouldn't have asked you, and I don't care. Don't take it personally. I've never asked Robert. It's none of my business, even though Robert is among my best friends now. But they're going to call you that, Robert. They call me that. And I went and I did both. And I did both. You all know why. You may agree or disagree with the reasons. And none of I don't care what you think anyhow, in that sense. I'll go tattoo myself if I want to. It's nobody else's business. I'm not sure that I would ever do it again. So they're going to say, well, now you've become this. Because now, a year later, I've seen everything. And I'm like, my goodness. Okay, I did it because I'm not, maybe I'm an idiot. Doesn't matter. But they'll call me an anti-V. And they'll call, for sure, they're going to call you all sorts of names under the sun. I'm just shocked you haven't taken more flack for being Alex Jones's attorney. But Robert, I say this
that's how the media likes to cover it. Well, it depends on which media outlet it is. If it used to be, I could know the media outlet's political bias by who they focused on me representing. Yep. You know, if I was representing, if they only said Ralph Nader, Wesley Snipes, Jill Stein, Green Party, any of those people, then I knew they were from the right and wanted to discredit me because of the left people I've represented. Whereas the left is mostly where I get the hit pieces from, Huffington Post, Daily Beast, that crowd. They're always eager to do it. But none of that's going to be, if once you get to a certain place, that shouldn't be effective, shouldn't be impactful, and can't be if you're going to be an effective advocate for the cause. So, I mean, it was a little bit unsettling, not a surprise that courts are, still have this mindset, but a little unsettling that in the case of this consequence, a judge is worried about tweets to begin with. Just because Pfizer sticking it under his nose shouldn't have been reason to get there. And so I was not bashful in my, disagreements with the court, and the court was not bashful in its disagreements with me. But I think the judge is committed to following the facts of the law. So if that happens, then I have great confidence that we will win, survive a motion to dismiss, and get to discovery next year. He established a trial date for 2024.
Okay. So that's it. So established trial date, because I wasn't sure if when you reported on the was it the motion to dismiss? I wasn't sure if it was you were trying to make the best of a bad situation. This is proceeding. Like, this is going to proceed sooner than later.
I mean, the judge could grant the motion to dismiss. I don't think there's any law and facts that support that, period. I mean, the mere fact that Pfizer is talking about me and Brook Jackson tells you they don't have a factual and legal argument to dismiss. They don't. It's purely from power. Their argument is solely Brook Jackson is representing the people, but she's not a U.S. government, U.S. attorney. So ignore what she says. We don't like her. Let's attack her. Let's attack her lawyer. You as a judge, now you're part of an anti-vax case. If you dare challenge Pfizer and what Pfizer did here, it smears and power. They don't have a leak, because otherwise they'd be talking about the facts and the law. If you have the facts on the side, you hammer the facts. If you have the law on the side, you hammer the law. If you have both, you hammer both. If you have neither, you hammer the table. And Pfizer's doing a lot of hammering on the table. They do not have a good defense at all on facts or law. What they're hoping for is their argument from power, their argument from smears, their argument from politics will persuade the federal judiciary to capitulate to big pharma, like they often have sadly done in our past.